Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft America Winter. We're going to be going into the next game very shortly indeed. They are ready to rock and roll. It's going to be Hitman versus EG.HuK.
I'm gonna get Belshire Vestige. This seems to be the go-to first map for everyone. It's the one that no one feels particularly strongly about in any way, either way.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. And what do you reckon to it on PvP?
I don't know. PvP, all the maps here are pretty generic besides Frost that come to mind immediately. They're all two base maps with high ground mains. None of the naturals are absurdly open or absurdly closed. But I do suspect I've never ever seen Hitman play PvP before. I've only ever experienced his PvZ, as he's only been a ladder player beforehand. So I don't know, but just I have to expect that he's going to be doing a lot of one-base shenanigans. And from talking to a couple of Protoss players, he's apparently very, very good build order-wise. Just always seems to end up with build order advantages PvP. So, looks like I'm not really sure what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm hearing it on your end as well. Hopefully that will clear up. We'll try and sort that out. But anyway, into the game we go. And we actually did have a little bit of a message there from Hitman, who said that he is doing this for America. And HuK is a little bit indecisive about who he's doing it for, but hey. So
sorry, the sound still sounds a little bit weird to me, but it
sounds
okay
fine on this end, so okay. I'm afraid I'm going to be
matters.
Mr. Roboto for you for a while, but we'll get it sorted out. Alright, well, welcome to Belshire Vestige, ladies and gentlemen, and I bring you the scariest crow, aka EG.HuK. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the southeast, versus his opponent to the northwest position, a man that has captured the hearts of many and broken the hearts of many more. To the northwest position from SYF Gaming, it is Hitman.
I don't know. I think Hitman's the far scarier of the two crows. He's the diverse cheeser, whereas HuK is more the control cheeser. HuK does pretty normal, pretty predictable stuff, even if he is going to be very aggressive, even if he is going to all-in you. And it's more on the back of his force fields and his unit control and just his decision-making. Whereas Hitman can do absolutely anything and has no shame about whatever he will be doing. And that's just so scary to play against because, I don't know, there's just so many options and they all require different counters and it can be very difficult to scout. And we see HuK already scouting around his base for Proxy 2 gates. Hitman doesn't care. He has every probe mining. He's not worried about anything, whereas HuK is already playing a little bit defensively, a little bit worried. He's already in his head, actually scouting everywhere for Proxy 2 gates.
Yeah. And funnily enough...
That's the effect he has.
Yeah, and that's a fearsome reputation to have. It really is. It works. In fact, it's actually something I think that worked quite well for SOS as well. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm really, really good Protoss player. Oh, here's some cannons. Enjoy that. I mean, a little bit of lag there from Greg. Hopefully that will sort itself out momentarily. If not... Oh. Dude. Maybe. Sort of.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Almost. Maybe. Alright, we're going to have to see whether or not IdrA is able to get out of this lag situation. If not, I will continue the cast solo until everything is actually sorted out. This is a little bad. Oh, it looks like we may have cleaned up. Okay. Alright. Cool, so the lag spike seems to have passed, which is nice. Anyway, we did see an 11 gateway, actually, from Hitman. A little bit early. He's going with the pylon almost immediately here. It, of course, did result in a faster cybernetics core there for Hitman. Now, assuming that... Yeah, what do you... Oh, what the... Okay.
Yeah, we do see a proxy stargate coming out from him. I'm not sure what was happening while I was lagging, so I'm not sure what you noticed. But yeah, he sent that out. And as you said, the early gateway, the early cyber core, leads to a very, very early stargate. And proxy oracle, if it's unscouted, if it's undirectly countered. And we actually see a sentry first, not a stalker first, coming out from HuK. So this actually could be really, really scary for him. And he scouted for the Proxy 2 gates, he scouted for the initial rush, and that was the extent of it. But he's actually setting the mothership core straight up, and he is going to see it. That's wonderful for him.
That certainly helps him out an awful lot. And noticing even a backup pylon there for Hitman actually placed to make sure that there's no way he's going to be depowering that anytime soon. Immediately, 2 gates go down here. So, and possibly even a 4th one actually was being thought about here for HuK. But what exactly does he need to defend this?
He's just going to pump out 3 gateway stalkers and actually going for a 4th gateway, so he's going to go for the kill. He's going to try and defend this and then just do a big immediate counterattack. The more conservative option is put down that Twilight Cancel, get up to Blink, get the mobility, maybe even push down a Robo and just expand and play as normal. But with those 4 gateways, he's going to look to hold off, and it's actually going to be a Void Ray instead of an Oracle. I'm not sure if that's because he knows he got scouted, or if this is just a cheesier version of it, but Oracle is the norm for Proxy Stargate.
This is not a bad little choice here, because of course it's going to kill those Stalkers pretty rapidly. He's focusing down the Mothership Core. Great trap! Fantastic force field there, allowing the probes to kill off the Stalker. But this Void Ray doesn't really have anything that can actually shoot it right now, as the final unit ends up going down. But there are Stalkers on the way, so I guess it depends how much damage can be done.
There's one more Stalker on the way that's fighting against a Void Ray, and a second Void Ray is about to join it. He doesn't have Warp Gate finished yet. He's spending a Chrono Boost on a gateway that's not actually producing a Stalker. I don't know.
That's it.
What the hell just happened?
That was
a... Is that a thing, PvP? I've never seen that.
I've never seen that done. Proxy Void Ray, I assume it had... You pointed out earlier that maybe it was a reaction to it being scouted. But if you think about it, and it's the logical reaction, isn't it? Because what are you going to do if you scout a Proxy Stargate at that stage of production? What are you going to build in order to counter the Oracle? Well, you're going to build Stalkers. But since he didn't scout it earlier, those gates were later, and really it was only going to be 1 or 2 Stalkers. It just seems like you've got to scout that earlier. I don't see any other way around it. And you've got to throw down your gateways early as a direct result of that.
Yeah. He did put down the 4th gateway, so he had less minerals to... Like, if he had only been on 3 gateways, he could have produced an additional Stalker. And maybe that would have been enough to hold it off. Because it is a very, very cheesy build. If you hold off those Void Rays are a much bigger investment than the more standard Oracle there.
Yeah.
So if you hold it off, you can kind of win. But... I don't know. And then those are hard decisions to make on the fly, too, because he didn't know for sure if it was going to be Void Ray or Oracle. He should have sent the Mothership Core back out and checked, but at that point, it might have been too late to respond anyway.
Yeah, that is true. It did take him a while to find it, and it was a nice move. Hey, that's just the way of it. PvP is inherently kind of 1 base, 2 base anyway, so why not? Why not toss that out at the start of a series? And that might dictate the pace of the rest of this game. And I think the defense was probably about as good as it was going to get, because he wasn't going to kill that Void Ray at that point. It just wasn't going to happen. He did nail down the Stalker very well. Good force fields, got the probes around in there, but you can't really use anything other than harsh language against that Void Ray at that point.
I'm sure he inspired a lot of that. That has to be so frustrating to lose that way, because it really just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot more he could have done. Just those are the silly games. And now we get to see what Hitman has in store for us this game. Every game with him is just like an adventure.
Yeah, very, very true. All right, well, we're going to have a look at our players right here. We have, of course, the one and only EG.HuK. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the northwest of Star Station TE versus his opponent to the southeast position, currently at 1 game in this best-of-5 series. It is SYF Gaming's Hitman.
In this game, he opens up with a more normal 13 gate,
yep.
And actually a kind of delayed 15 gas. So not looking for any kind of immediate rush this game. Second gas comes down immediately as well. So everything looking more standard thus far. No commitment to anything too weird just yet. And he was actually the one scouting for Proxy 2 gates in his base this time, or just some kind of proxy. So not completely oblivious to the fact that HuK might be mad and might be looking for revenge.
Well,
but
whatever
HuK's still
wins.
playing defensively.
Yeah, whatever does the job. It's nothing out of the ordinary for HuK to cheese, of course. He's very good at it. A lot of Protoss players are.
That's the other thing. And when you're playing against someone like Hitman, it's kind of scary to do your own cheese, because you never know what's going to happen. You might end up in really weird, like unusual situations. And it's actually kind of putting HuK on the defensive here, which is not where he usually is. He's usually the player dictating the pace. Like I mentioned in the first game with Scarlet against Hitman, it's really good to cheese against cheesers because you throw them out of their element.
Yep.
And HuK is just already out of his element because he's kind of intimidated by Hitman and he doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't exactly blame him either, considering what ended up happening there. But as you said, Hitman playing a much more standard game this time around, gets in and scouts pretty much everything. HuK, on the other hand, does not. He scouted for proxies, and that really was about it. And I want to keep track of that probe, because Lord knows what it could do.
After seeing the probe go down here, HuK immediately goes and checks for a pylon as well, just leaving nothing unturned.
Hitman is doing this on purpose. I don't see any other way around it. He's got to be trying to freak HuK out at this point. His reputation now precedes him, and it's gotten to the point where he's able to make otherwise pro players who are very calm and very solid in their mindset do some pretty weird things.
Yeah, we saw against Scarlet. He's very adept at mind games. He definitely understands how he plays, and he makes the most of it in pretty much every aspect. And that's a surprising amount of maturity for someone who's pretty much just a ladder player. Most ladder cheesers will just kind of do their builds and get it over with, and they'll win or they'll lose. But he definitely shows a lot of self-awareness and really takes advantage of his style and his reputation. And we see Twilight Council against Robo.
Okay.
So that could end up pretty well for Huck. See if he goes for DT. That's not going to be so good, and that is the cheesier option. So I would say from him that's the more likely, but could also be just normal playing Stalker.
Yeah, 2 more gateways come down, but that's not really indicative of anything at this point. That could still be DT. Immortal is on the way. Let's see if it's going to be Blink coming out here. It is, actually. So, yeah, as you said, this works out pretty well for Huck.
Yeah, it'll kind of come down to just control how well he uses the Stalkers, and Huck, I'm almost sure he's just going to go try and drop a Nexus once he has the Immortals out to secure it. I really feel like he's going to be playing pretty timid and conservatively this series. He's not going to want to go for anything too aggressive. But I think it would really behoove him to play a little bit more freely. And actually a 4th gate coming down, so it's going to be Blink Stalker Cheese from Hitman. No real surprise there.
No, not
and
really.
He already has everything out on the map. A Scouting Phoenix, Stalker's running around. Actually, no pylon out, or no, it was actually up at the top right. Does have a probe out. He's headed out to start dropping his forward pylons. And Huck actually has a Stalker on the map that could get caught here if he's not careful.
Yep, that is true. And this Mothership Core, though, is taking some fire. Not going down, though. And, of course, Hitman looking to try and back off and save that Mothership Core. Doesn't want to lose that. That would be crippling. In the meantime, though, that's actually bought him just a little bit of time. He is working on this 3rd Immortal here, but he's still only doing this off 2 gateways. What do you reckon to the chances of Huck actually holding this?
I don't know, this feels pretty good for him. 3 Immortals against Stalkers is a ton of firepower. He is 4 gate. It's going to be a lot of Blink Stalkers.
Oh, this Stalker making its way into the base. Hitman actually forced to warp in 1 Stalker at the back here.
That helps quite a bit. A bit of a distraction. Shows him exactly what's up, although I think Huck already knew. He's got those 3 Immortals out. He has a decent amount of support for him. And he has a Planetary Nexus, which is a huge amount of defensive power. I'm not really sure how Hitman expects to make this work. It feels almost suicidal to go in there against that many Immortals and just that much DPS from everything.
Twilight Council coming down for Huck as well, so it will only be a matter of time before his own Blink is done. Admittedly, his game's probably going to be done before the Blink finishes. But as you said, there is a lot of defensive clout here, but he's waiting for another wave, waiting for that Planetary Nexus to go off, trying maybe to pick off the Mothership Core, because it's about to have enough energy for another one of those. The Immortal at the front is actually going to get killed immediately. Not the best start here from Huck. And Huck is actually forced to throw down that Time Warp as well. Nice little blink on top of the Immortals, but Hitman is taking a lot of damage here, and another Immortal comes out at this point, so that's going to shove that one back. The Twilight Council is now finished, so Blink may very well end up starting for Huck, and it does. But with 2 Immortals here, Hitman's going to be struggling hard to break this.
Yeah, not really the best control at all from Hitman there on the Stalkers. Losing the Mothership Core for free as well. He did some damage, but with those Immortals out, with his own Blink coming up, Huck is going to be quite ahead in tech pretty shortly here. And back at home, Hitman not really doing anything at all, besides not spending his Chrono Boost, just kind of sitting there on those 4 gateways, continuing to produce units. Getting more and more Zealots, which helps a little bit against the Immortals. And he doesn't have a Mothership Core, and he's not rebuilding one, so he's not going to have a Planetary Nexus. But that's just, those Immortals, they make a really big difference, and Hitman hasn't shown the Blink Stalker micro to compensate for it.
No, a big aggressive blink onto the flank there, which breaks the hardened shields, but it does leave him exposed for yet more shots from the Immortals. So Hitman gets the bad end of that trade as well, and he's got to keep warping in, but Blink's about to be done. And once Huck has Blink against Hitman's Blink, I don't see that going well for Hitman.
No, Huck definitely has the better control here, and those Immortals, they're staying alive, and with the Blink to protect them as well, I don't see much happening here. I think Hitman's build has kind of run its course, and Huck's completely stabilized. Only a 1 probe advantage, but the tech advantage is pretty significant. It would be more than enough to carry Huck through the mid-game, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
If it even gets there.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I mean, once Blink is done and once Hitman sees that, I think that will probably be it for him. A big aggressive Blink again on top of the Immortal. Picks off one. He's going to focus down a second one as well, which is not too bad. Blink is about to finish here for Huck. It's another... Funnily enough, it is another 10 seconds, which actually gives Hitman this momentary swing in momentum. Another Blink comes in, but it blinks right on top of the Immortal and doesn't shoot it, so he's driven away, and now Blink is done. So this may very well be the nail in the coffin here for Hitman.
Yeah, if we look at the unit counts, it's only a 2 Stalker advantage for Hitman, and he's not really even producing full-time off his 4 gateways, so I don't really see that accelerating. And the Immortal, oh, really sloppy stock control. He does get the Immortal, but he loses way too much for it, and the blink of HuK kicks in as well. And that's going to be the end of it for Hitman.
Yeah.
He may stick around, but I don't see any opportunity for him to win now.
No, I mean, he's probably going to lose another Stalker here as well. It would require, I suppose, a ridiculous miss micro from HuK, which is not really the kind of thing he's known for. So it seems rather unlikely. Hitman has continued to try and make this work, but I don't think there's really any chance of that happening. I think HuK's probably confident enough just to produce Stalkers and out-micro Hitman.
Although HuK has stopped the Immortal production entirely, so it is now just down to 3 gateway against 4 gateway. And I don't know. No, Hitman's stalker control just isn't that good.
It's not good enough. He blinks right on top of them there. Really, really nice play there by HuK. Possibly wasting a few shots here and there, but certainly more than enough to crush Hitman's army. So that shouldn't really be a factor. Yeah, that was a case of being out microed if ever I've seen it. Hitman was not able to make that work at all. That's been driven back, and, well, what is his transition out of this? As you said before, there's a big tech advantage for HuK. Actually, a big army advantage as well. But the probe count is still equal.
Probe count is equal, but Hitman, I don't know. I'm kind of biased just because it definitely feels like HuK is the better player here, so I'm just kind of assuming he's going to win going forward. Neither of them has an amazing transition, but no, HuK just is going to out-control him. Plus, HuK has the Nexus coming down. Hitman is showing no inclination to expand or tech or really do anything besides continue to make Stalkers. And HuK can kind of do whatever he wants now. He's just going to chase him down the Stalkers, keep control of the game, expanding behind it. Very comfortable situation for him. And Hitman, I don't really know what he's doing. He's kind of losing Stalkers every once in a while.
Yeah, he's just trying to hold on to it and maybe hope HuK makes a big mistake that allows him to get the momentum back in the game. And he gets a shot off there, but HuK actually blinks away from that killer volley, so that really doesn't make that much of a difference. Aggressive blink forward, but HuK should be able to make that work. His blink wasn't off cooldown, I assume, right there. And Hitman actually just has that slight lead there, whether he's able to make it work for him, but that gives the momentum back to HuK after that as the reinforcements come behind here. There is no probe on the map, by the looks of it, for HuK, so he's actually not trying to end the game. He's trying to get a Nexus down.
Yeah, he's just kind of very casually applying a lot of pressure to Hitman. He's like down a gateway. He's walking his units all the way across the map to reinforce, and somehow still winning fights. This really shouldn't be happening. It's kind of a testament to HuK's control versus Hitman's. And Hitman's still no tech, no expansion, no nothing. He got a mothership core out now. That's not really going to make a whole lot of difference. I imagine he's just going to build up another couple of waves of Stalkers and try to all in on HuK's Nexus.
Seems that way.
Don't know how well that's going to work. HuK's actually producing quite a few probes here, and he hasn't added any additional gateways. He's not producing any Immortals. So maybe if he gets really cocky, does he have a mothership core? I don't think he ever replaced it. So he doesn't have a planetary Nexus to help him hold on. Maybe Hitman can just kind of all in and something will work out.
Maybe. It's a possibility, but...
Because if we look at the Stalker count, it's a 3 Stalker advantage for HuK, so I guess perhaps not.
Yeah, that's the real problem, I think, and even with a time warp, that's really not going to make that much difference against Blink Stalkers. An Immortal is actually on the way as well. I think if that Immortal finishes, then that's just going to be it. I don't see Hitman managing that. He's building his pylon, he's going for a big final attack, hoping HuK makes a big mistake in army control.
Don't really see that happening. Even with the time warp, it's a pretty big deal. Not that big of a deal, though. I'm surprised at the lack of mothership core from HuK. And I'm not sure if he just forgot that he lost it in that initial engagement, or if he really just doesn't care. But one way or another, the Immortal does come out, join the battle. That should be the end of it here. Hitman just going to go in for his one last big attack. Good positioning from HuK.
Yeah, looking pretty good. The Immortal on the top of the ramp there to make sure it's a bit more difficult to blink on top of it. And that was soundly driven back. He didn't lose that many Stalkers, but he's still in an ugly spot. The second Immortal's about to finish, at which point I think Hitman just got to give it up. It's absolutely not going to happen. Goes for one more final push to try and make this happen. Let's see if he can do it. The Immortal's at the front, which is maybe not the ideal place for it to be, and it is going to go down. But an aggressive blink forward here by HuK means oh, you want to take that? Well, that's no problem. I'm going to make that work regardless. He goes in and attempts to finish off Hitman's army. Blink control between both of them is certainly going in favor of HuK. HuK knows it, jumps right on top of it with the 2-Stalker advantage, rapidly turns that into a 10-Stalker advantage, and there's the GG. Very true. All right. Derelict Watcher. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you EG.HuK. He is in the northeast position, playing Protoss in the orange trunks. Be before he goes onto his way to the finals, he really needs to deal with this guy, who has proven to be formidable, to say the least, to the southwest position from Team SYF Gaming in the pink trunks playing Protoss. It is Hitman.
And the pylon is in the main base for Hitman. Something you always have to note for with him. Actually, we haven't seen him go for any kind of Proxy 2 gate or anything yet this tournament, despite the fact that both players have been scouting pretty rigorously for it. And he has toned it down a little bit. Like on ladder, when you play him, you do still get 1 base 4 gates or Proxy 2 gates. The kind of stuff that everyone thought went out of fashion back in the Wings of Liberty beta.
So much for that.
He hasn't been mixing in any of that. He has quite a few probes queued up here, so it's not going to be the first game, the 11 gateway, the very fast tech. Probably not going to be seeing that again. Looks like just normal gateway timings from the both of them.
Nothing out of the ordinary initially, but that was the same case in the last game, and then we saw exactly what was going to be happening. Do you think HuK at this point sort of takes the momentum and takes the risk to actually be aggressive, or is he just going to wait to see what his opponent does?
I don't know. I feel like anything he does has some risk associated with it, so it's kind of just... I would prefer risking things on the defensive end and just doing anything to kind of get into the mid game, because HuK just clearly is the more comfortable player at that point in the game if it gets passed early on. And basically, if you go defensive, if anything you do, if you just survive, as long as you don't die, then you can get into the mid game. Whereas if you're going aggressive and it doesn't work out, then kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
I think he's going to err on the side of defense. And
there's the SYF Hitman. Okay, so slightly later than his opponent, but really not a huge amount of difference. So 2 probes in gas for either side right now.
Going up to all 6 for HuK. Not sure what Hitman's at yet. He as well is full probes on gas. So no fast nexus from either of them. That's not at all surprising again, given these 2 players.
No, not in any way. So once the Cybercore finishes, then we'll actually be able to figure out what exactly is going on. Both of these guys refusing to leave their base right now. Mothership Core coming out for HuK immediately, then Cybercore for Hitman, which will probably also result in a Mothership Core. Chrono Boost actually on the sentry there.
That's interesting. Work gate started immediately, but no Mothership Core at all. Oh, did HuK cancel his... Oh no, it just finished.
Yeah. Builds ridiculously quickly. It's actually quite a surprise.
I was actually surprised by how quickly that built. Like, I don't really pay attention to that too much. Not experienced with it.
Yeah, Chrono Boost, I think you can do it in 20 seconds. It's pretty ridiculous.
Quick second and third gateway from HuK. I think he might be expecting a proxy Stargate. He's scouting over for it, and those early second and third gateways would be quite a good counter to it if that were the case. But obviously not what Hitman's going for here. Actually has that sentry out, looking around for any kind of probes or proxy pylons. And still no build commitment. There comes the Twilight Council.
Okay.
So I have to see if it's going to be DT or if he's going to go with that Blink Stalker again. That Blink Stalker failed so miserably. I'd be surprised if he does it again.
It didn't seem like a particularly good idea. It was held really well by HuK, and I think you've got to sort of realize when you're outclassed when it comes to your micro, and you've got to rely on something a little bit different.
A little bit more creative, yeah.
Yeah.
And HuK playing very solidly. I like his position here. If it's going to be DT, he's going to have the Robo in time for Observer. If it's going to be Blink Stalker, I think he's just going to have enough units and the superior micro and just going to hold on by virtue of that. And it is Blink Stalker with 2 more gateways coming up. Maybe he goes for a defensive version of this and tries to go into a macro game. He doesn't have the 4th gateway up just yet. Oh, there it goes. So, same thing once again.
Well, the proxy pile on the other side of the map actually got scouted by Hitman. So he's going to send over a Stalker to try and deal with it. A warp in could very well stop that from happening, however. Hitman, as you said, goes all the way up to 4 gateways. The pylon is nowhere right now, and in fact HuK is patrolling looking for it.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a probe out there. He's not even looking to draw out the pylon yet. The previous game he didn't put down the pylons until a little bit later, about when he was ready. Oh, and we actually have a Nexus from HuK. That could be pretty risky. He's got the Immortal coming, but the Immortals are later. He's not going to have 3 Immortals for the first attack as he did in the previous game. And he's not really producing off those gateways. I think he just made the gateways in anticipation of a proxy Stargate, and he's not really looking to use them. And that could kind of end up costing him here. There's going to be a lot of Stalkers coming down, and if there's just the 1 or 2 Immortals, he can easily blink in and take those out, and then just clean up the rest of it.
HuK's about to scout all of the gateways here. He doesn't see the Twilight Council, but with that many Stalkers out in the field, I think he can make an assumption as to what's going on. The Nexus is immediately cancelled.
Yeah, he absolutely had to do that. There was no way he was holding on to that Nexus. Lots of stalkers coming across the map. We see 6 already for Hitman with the 4 warp gates active to only the 4 of Huck. Second Immortal coming out. It's a good amount of Immortals. He's warping in additional units, and he has the Planetary Nexus available to him to buy some time. I think he's going to be okay again here. It's not quite as solid as it was the previous game with just the ridiculous 3 Immortals bashing on the Stalkers, but still pretty good for him.
Yep, there's the blink away already. Hasn't lost that. The Mothership Core losing its shields, which is never really the position you want to be in, especially if it's got full energy. It could go down pretty quickly. Twilight Council was immediately built in response here. The third Immortal is about, well, I'd say about to finish. It's still in production. A force field stops everything going on from there, and the Mothership Core never went up to allow a blink anyway, so that was a nice little move there by Huck.
Yeah, and it actually turns out that he has enough additional workgate units to even prevent aggressive blinks on the Immortals. He's just keeping everything at bay. This is actually even looking easier than the previous game thus far. And just more and more units coming in. He's already up to the 3 Immortals. Now producing in more. Pretty comfortable sticking on 3 with his own blink coming, as you said. And I just don't know what Hitman does from this point. He's continuing to warp in units, going a little bit more Zealot heavy, but I don't know how he expects this to get any better with time.
Well, he's made it up the ramp, so we will see how it goes. It is 13 Stalkers against 4, but there are 3 Immortals there. And there's also some Force Field and Sentry energy for Guardian Shield and things like that, so that could make a little bit of a difference. Planetary Nexus has kicked in there, and Hitman is just focusing on buildings at this point because he can't really engage the army. Huck looking for the perfect angle, and not producing another Immortal. He feels that 3 are a good number. He's going to have his own blink shortly, but doesn't actually have that many Stalkers at the moment. Force Field's put down to try and limit Hitman. Hitman jumps right on top of everything, which, as it turns out, was probably not a very good idea because those Immortals are having a whale of a time here against those Stalkers, and the Planetary Nexus contributing very nicely to this fight.
Just so much DPS, especially anti-armor DPS coming out from Huck here. And with those Zealots dying early on to the Force Fields and just good control from Huck, when there's only Stalkers left, there's nothing you can really do here.
Yeah, Blink's about to finish as well in 30 seconds time. Immortal again at the front, so damage is going to be done here. A good use of the Time Warp to prevent that from retreating here. Huck's going to lose another ship core, but that's fine because it didn't really have any energy anyway. He's better off rebuilding it. Another Immortal is being produced here. Hitman is being forced up against the wall. His entire army is just getting absolutely destroyed here. And it is quite surprising to see Hitman attempt the same thing when Huck is very clearly equipped to deal with it.
Yeah, even with a slightly different build order, Huck, if anything, making it look easier this game, and he's already pulled himself to about a 15 supply advantage. And again, with the tech lead, and as we saw last game, the more comfortable mid-game. And Hitman, as before, just continuing to warp in units, continuing to go for the kill, not really wanting to back off and do any kind of transition, just wanting to keep producing units and, I don't know, keep banging his head against the wall.
Well, that wall isn't going anywhere. It's a particularly stubborn wall, as I think anyone that met Chris is well aware. And it's only really going to result in one thing, unless Chris makes a huge mistake. And that is not going to happen. Huck is going to make this work. He's definitely got enough blink. He certainly had enough Immortal firepower to drive that away. And Hitman trying to go around once again. He's got this interesting habit, actually, of putting down 2 pylons to make sure that it's a little bit more difficult to take them out. He did it in Game 1 as well with the Proxy Stargate, but Huck certainly has enough to drive this away, and that's really going to just result in Hitman losing here, and there's the GG. And they're pretty much ready to go, so I think we're going to do exactly that, and see whether or not Hitman is able to bring out something special here on Yonsu.
Yeah, Yonsu, a very, very small map. In line with the other 2 maps we played, it's another 2-player map with no particularly interesting geography or architecture around the natural. But it is very, very small. That could lead to some kind of, well, I mean, it's Hitman. Anything could happen early on. But it is a little bit more conducive to a lot of different kinds of aggression early on. Even something as basic as proxy gates, they just get there a little bit faster. There's a lot of opportunities to proxy Stargate, very close to both the main and the natural, just around any of the 3rd and 4th bases. And it's just so small that any kind of rush is just going to be a little bit more scary because it comes a little bit faster.
That is very, very true. Alright, here we are, folks. This is Yonsu, and this is EG.HuK on his ladder account Scarecrow. He is in the orange trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the southwest versus his opponent, who put up a very impressive display against Scarlet, but unfortunately appears to be falling short here against his Protoss opponent. It is SYF Gaming's Hitman in the pink trunks, playing Protoss to the northeast.
I'm really surprised he's gone for this very kind of bland. I mean, it's cheesy, it's aggressive. That's what you think when you think of him, but it's really not that special. The Blink Stalker build he's been going for, and everyone who's played him in PvP says he's very reliant on build orders. He does lots of crazy, wacky stuff, and he tends to end up ahead in terms of builds. And you'd think the semifinals are the biggest thing he's ever played in. He would bring out something a little bit more special. And this game, he actually goes for a 10 gate, so he is mixing it up for sure.
So what do you think this 10 gate's actually going to lead into? We saw an 11 gate leading into a very fast cybercore into a proxy stargate. Do you think we'll see that, or is there something more sinister in mind?
10 gate is so fast, I don't know if it's actually conducive to faster tech. At that point, I think you might be sacrificing your minerals a bit too much. You're not going to be able to afford it. This might be more of a really, really fast gateway rush, something along the lines of that. But I'm not particularly sure. Gonna have to wait and see. But it is obviously a significantly faster gateway than HuK is getting, whereas the gases are relatively close. He is still on 1 gas. HuK immediately goes up to 2 gases. So, I don't know. Maybe we're going to see like a really, really fast 3 or 4 gate Zealot Stalker rush. That seems to be the most likely at this point. And he is swinging out a probe to go drop a forward pylon already.
Let's see what he can make do with it. I mean, I would love to see this go to a 5th game just to see what would happen. But you were right when you said that really the last 2 games from Hitman were blander than what we expect and clearly not playing to his strengths as a player.
Okay, so he put down a 2nd gas. He is dropping a forward pylon. So the fast gateway, the fast cybercore are going to be a very fast proxy tech. It's not close enough to really make me think it's Stargate, although Stargate is the most common proxy tech PvP right now. It's looking more like, I don't know, maybe it's going to be a hidden DT or something like that. It is a Twilight Council, so it does look like it's going to be proxy, just hidden DT.
Alright, well, if we see the same robo build coming out here from HuK, then that may very well not work. It is, as you said, a very quick Twilight Council, though.
I'm pretty sure both the previous builds that HuK did would have been able to defend this. His robo was a little bit later last game, but I think that would have been okay. Worst comes to worst, you force field the ramp and you wait a little bit. But the question remains, is he going to do a similar build once again? I'm not sure just yet. And he's scouting around, looking for proxies with the Mothership Core, but he's obviously not going to the right side of the map. He's not going to see that. No. And he has not sent out a probe, no scouting of the main whatsoever. So despite the fact that Hitman has made 0 units, HuK is not going to scout that anything funky is going on.
And 2 more gateways came up here for HuK before the robo, and this is starting to get a little worrying.
Yeah, the Dark Shrine has finished. It's already a 3rd done. And actually the Proxy 2 gates coming up at the Proxy location as well. That really seems kind of unnecessary. Hitman should be quite well aware that units can be warped in anywhere. He takes advantage of the fact quite frequently.
Sure. Yeah.
And the robo is coming down from HuK. It looks like it's going to be okay. If he catches the DTs coming in, if he sees the blurs and drops the force field down the ramp, I believe he will be okay. But if the DTs get in the main, they are going to do some probe damage. It's just a matter of how much. Also, whether or not HuK immediately makes an observer, because he has been rushing out those Immortals previous games in order to deal with the gateway aggression of Hitman.
He can't imagine that the same thing's going to happen again, surely. And,
well,
HuK he scouts the pylon, alright.
But the pylon itself doesn't necessarily say that it's DT. Oh, he thinks it's going to be ground units, and he also spent his mana on that hallucination, and he's chrono boosting out an Immortal. So he thinks it's going to be the same gateway rush. He has no idea that it's DTs, and 3 of them. He could kill the robo before the observer actually gets it. Oh,
I wonder if he'll be able to force field that out. Oh, that was a
good force fields.
Fantastic force fields, actually. Then moves a sentry in to block the rest, so he will be able to get the observer out. He's going to take some damage, certainly, before that happens, though.
But once the observer's out with the planetary nexus and those stalkers, this is just going to be completely shut down.
Nice. That was clutch from HuK, I've got to say. That was really, really cool. Hitman's actually warping in on the high ground, though. He's turning this into a weird DT Zealot Stalker rush of some description. But with the planetary nexus up, surely that's not
making the Archon in range of the planetary nexus. I'm not really sure if this is the best move from him.
It's a little strange. Unexpected, perhaps. I don't think it's going to pay off necessarily. The Archon trying to walk in against the Stalkers, but of course they outrange it significantly, so that could be a bit of a problem. He does have the ability to knock down force fields, though, so now that's going to be useless. Trying to take out the Mothership Core almost did, in fact. Making this as aggressive as possible. There's another Immortal out, though, and units-wise, I don't see this working. The Archon's about to die, certainly, and now the Immortal's out. I think this is going to be a very quick end to Hitman's tournament career, at least in ShoutCraft America, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's 3 gateway versus 3 gateway, no blink to rely on. The Immortal's out as well for Huck, and just absolute advantage for Huck in every way. Even in Harvesters, that hardly matters at this point. A Robo's coming up, so Hitman is actually trying to transition this game, as opposed to the last ones. But Huck putting up a Nexus, and Hitman's not going to be able to do anything about that for quite some time. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of hope left for Hitman here.
Not really. There's the most Artosis of Artosis pylons actually to the east there as well. If Huck found that, then that would be an absolute disaster, being able to knock out 2 gateways as well. But as you said, Huck is now just getting further ahead. He sees absolutely no reason to throw himself into anything. He has already soundly defeated his opponent in terms of the build order, so now he's just going to try and take his expansion.
Yep, really nice conservative play, knowing that he both has the advantage now and is fully capable of... oh, shit, sorry.
Okay.
My cat was resting her head on the keyboard. That will not happen again.
Oh,
anyway, Huck...
Oh, God.
Anyway.
As we were
and it
saying...
looks like Huck has been enraged by the horrendously inappropriate pausing, and is going to go in and go for the kill, take out his anger on Hitman, which I fully approve of, so I'm glad I could inspire that. And there is actually 1 sentry here for Hitman, and, well, that's not going to be a very close battle.
Energy for a force field. Well, that's that gone. Let's see if somehow he can actually hold this. I mean, he's got 2 more sentries, so he can sit there just saying, no, you can't go in. But honestly, all Huck really wanted to do was kill the expansion, so it doesn't really matter. Huck's Nexus is now up and running. He's got double the probe production of his opponent. His opponent's tech is now up to about the same level, but he's starting to produce Immortals when his opponent already has them, so I don't see how that's really going to help. It would, again, be great for Huck to actually just wander out and find this tech and get rid of it, but right now I think he's just more concerned about defending and just holding this economic advantage he's got.
Yeah, again, no reason for him to really risk anything. I'm even kind of surprised he moved out to attack there. Thought he would just kind of sit back. And he is actually moving out to attack again. He knows that the game is won and kind of just wants to end it. At this point, he's seen the army Hitman has, which was, at that point, 3 sentries, and hasn't really improved too much since then. I don't know. I think it's moved to the point where he's very, very confident. He knows he can't really lose, so he might as well just take the game in hand.
He's going for it, and I think that is the right call, certainly. Mana Nexus goes down right here, or the so-called Tactical Nexus to allow for Planetary Nexus Cannon to be placed in the natural of your opponent. He's taking it like a champ, I'll give him all credit for that. Hitman has won some fans and certainly some enemies in this tournament, but hey, that's a great way to get your name out. Nobody knew of him before this.
The second Mana Nexus, so he's going to have a lot of planetary nexuses available if he so chooses.
Huck is looking in a pretty good position here, I think. Hitman going for the running away, actually. The Immortal...
I don't think I've ever seen an Immortal dance before. That looks pretty funny.
The Immortal Gangnam Style dance is now in play, which is the most BM thing you could possibly say. He's killing his own Mana Nexus. Hitman is holding on as best he can. The probe surround comes in. The Hitman has joined the party. Oh dear. That's the GG. And that is the end of Hitman's tournament run, but well played by him nonetheless. We definitely saw some interesting games.